Welcome to the live, everybody. That was not an introduction. That was always the beginning of lives are so awkward for me. I'm like, what do I talk about? What do I talk about? Just my undefined throat. Just like, okay, what are we supposed to talk about now? Welcome to the live, everybody. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Marco. I'm 31 years old. I'm a 3-5 reflector, and I've been studying human about a decade now, roughly a decade. I'm also a father. I have small child. She's almost two. She's gonna be two in November. I'm a family man. I'm a martial artist. I'm a musician, and I absolutely love human design. And part of my mission here, while I'm here on the planet, part of my mission has always been to uh, bring forward the best stuff that I find on my spiritual journey. And there's a lot of stuff. I found a lot of things. I'm a 3-5, so I've experimented with a lot of things: yoga, uh, plant medicines, what do you say, circles, like talk circles, somatic therapies. I've done so many things, and one of the greatest tools that I've found for self-love and self-awareness is human design, and particularly this concept of embodying human design, which is like incorporating it into your language, incorporating it into the way that you move. What's Felicity? Welcome back. I think I remember you from Monday. Um, and so that's kind of what this is going to be about, is like, how do we embody, and what's I love about human design is it's only a map. It's like a finger pointing at the moon. It's not the moon itself. It's just the finger pointing at the moon. And so what we can learn from human design, though, is far beyond what was available to us before human design, in my personal opinion. And we have a man named Ra to thank. Back in the 80s, he channeled human design for us, shared with us this information. And since then, it's just been growing in popularity. People are realizing that, wow, this system is very different. The system is very different than a lot of the other systems that have existed before it. And it's coming at a time where we really need something different in the spiritual community. What I've noticed in the past like 12 years since having my sort of like awakening is that, spirituality is kind of like trending right now. It's like it's cool to be healthy and to take care of your mental health and emotional health. And awesome, love it. And of course, like everything that starts trending, is there's like how you say there's a lot of unqualified authorities out there, in the sense that, hi from Arkansas, you're one of my favorite TikTok accounts. Yeah, Arkansas, that's what's up. And I'm biased because I like I look at these like false authorities, people that have been doing human design for 6 months and a year. It's not that you can't be helpful, but there's deeper layers that you get from someone who's spent a decade doing something versus someone who's spent um, you know a handful of months doing it. And that's something that I recognize. It was kind of like, you guys remember Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, how Harry's able to get the Sorcerer's Stone because he wanted to take it but not use it for himself. That's kind of where I'm at, and I've overcome the resistance now to the point where we go live regularly, where we're sharing information about human design from our point of authority, because there are so many, again, like I said, perceived phony authorities. And so that's kind of what human design really is supposed to help us do, is figure out, like, what is the true authority in our lives. Most of us have that authority externalized, and human design shows us how to internalize that authority and track where that authority actually is. So let's see. Let's check in the comments. 3-5 splenic manifester here. How can I tell if my intuition is hitting or just wishful thinking? Great question. Thinking tends to be repetitive. Intuition is usually like a whisper one time, and that's it. So being really mindful of your first intuition, like the first, not necessarily thought, but the first hit that you get, is usually not going to repeat itself. They're usually quieter than thoughts. And they're also sometimes accompanied with like bodily sensations, like a ringing in the ears, or like a closing of the throat, or a tightening of the stomach. That might be like a sign of like, get out of a space. Um, But also, you can become more familiar with the flavor of thinking by meditating, right? Because in meditation, there will be feelings, there will be thoughts, and there will be intuition, right? Intuition comes from the spleen, thoughts come from the ajna, feelings come from the solar plexus. When you are able to sit and meditate and just watch yourself, watch all the feelings, watch all the thoughts, watch all the intuition, you start to discern, you start to create definition between them. And we've got Jenny, the magic gin like fairy here. It's going to be a 50K day, I think. Um, so let's see. How much does incarnation cross come into play in one's life? As much as you let it. You know, incarnation cross is composed of your personality and your design, sun and earth. And the idea is that as a human being, you have the free will to not let any of those gates shine, right? At all. And you also have the opportunity to like let that completely guide your life. Now when it comes to fulfilling the incarnation cross, it is again through strategy and authority, which I know sounds like a broken record. Truly though, would you recommend custom design or Reiki design as a first time purchase? Oh, my reports. So I recommend the Reiki report. If you can get the Reiki report, go for it, because it has an introduction to human design and techniques for embodying human design. um, Whereas the custom report is an analysis of your body graph, the Reiki report is an analysis of your body graph plus those two things I just mentioned. So yeah, every time I try meditating, I can't turn my thoughts off. Any advice? That's actually great. That's important to know. Like, meditation is not so you can turn your thoughts off. It's so you can become more familiar with your thoughts. It's so you can become less reactive with your thoughts. And you can think of it like working out. Like working out, in a lot of ways, it's like tearing down the muscles, but it builds them back stronger. And so when you're doing things for like for instance trying to turn off your mind, that's like trying to turn off your stomach or turn off your heart. You're not going to be able to do that, nor would you want to do that, right? Your mind is a tool that thinks. So what you want to be aware of is, what is the nature of the mind? How does the mind think? And where human design comes into it is, human design will show you where your mind is controlling your body when your body ought to be making the decisions for you. So, Aaron, much love to you. Appreciate you. Thank you. Can you do, or do you know anyone in the HD community talking more about the 2027 collapse? I mean, this is really interesting because I can talk about 2027. Um, and it's something that and to be honest, it's like we're watching it fall apart right now. And 2027 is essentially this fork in the road where much of the world that has survived living off of infrastructure and plans and the support of big government, a lot of that stuff is going to fall apart. Meaning it's creating a way for individuals, and specifically groups of individuals, which we've known as tribes, right? Like families, um, for us to be self-reliant and more reliant on an individual basis. Meaning, look, the only people that are going to be in my tribe are people that know how to work on the land, that know how to like purify water, that know how to build houses, that actually have like real skills. And so a lot of the skills that people have been building for years in banking, investing, not that those aren't going to be useful anymore, um, but what we're looking at is kind of like a renaissance of like, what are the true valuable things. Nathan, thank you for sharing the live, appreciate you. um the the excitement around this like renaissance, and it's like, holy crap, we're at 5K already. We've been live for like 5 minutes. Jenny, you doing the thing. I love it. I appreciate y'all, everyone tapping the live, sharing the live. Thank you guys so much. um I'm building sales, and I'm encouraging every single person to smile for a recession. Interesting, nice lighting. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Rodrigo, hello, over there on YouTube. Jesus is God, loves you. Repent and believe in the gospel. Only He can save you from hell. Uh, yeah, I don't. 10K in 10 minutes. Yep, exactly. So let's talk about Jesus real quick, because I'm a huge fan of Jesus, and the rhetoric that goes on in his name to me is different than who he is and his relationship, because it's like he treated God like his father. Like it wasn't some externalized how you say being cause, like it was like his dad. And so that's kind of how I treat God in spirituality, is like my dad. And so, and this is interesting too, because you're starting to see religions get radical, like a lot more radical all across the board, because they're floundering, because what we're realizing in 2027 again is it's like, okay, if we come from the universe, or we come from God, or we come from Allah, right? How is it that we're supposed to live? And when we're living more closely with nature, there's less of that question. There's less of how am I supposed to be? Because you just look around you and it's like nature is harmonized with itself. There's disharmony for sure, but it eventually harmonizes itself. And nature doesn't look at floods and fires and these natural disasters as disasters. Those are resets, right? And what's coming, like the disaster that happened in North Carolina and Asheville, and I've had some friends there. So prayers up for my friends. And we build buildings with dead trees that have been chopped down, instead of figuring out ways to use the landscape for our advantage. Now we're totally straying off the course here, from Jesus to natural disasters. So what I'm saying is, like, the way to godliness, the way to spirituality, is to harmonize with the form, harmonize with the physical reality. Because the more that we attempt to do this transcending thing and think that there's only one way to God, the less we're gonna get there, in my opinion. Because Jesus says, "This is my way to God." I don't think he ever meant for everyone to do the same things that he was doing. It's more so like, tune into yourself. You don't need to be told this stuff. You don't need to be told how to be with God. You just need to listen, and that will show you. And at a time, there was a time when people did need to be told. That time is now ending. Anyway, absolutely agree with everything you spoke on, Billy Bob. Much love to you. Happy to resonate. So if you're a projector, notice your bitterness. Exactly. When you notice, as a human being, we each have what's called a not self, right? So for a projector, the not self is bitterness. For a manifester, it's anger. For a generator, it's frustration. For a manifesting generator, it's anger and frustration. For a reflector, it's disappointment. Any of those show up in your life, and it's like, you as a projector could be experiencing frustration, but the root of it is bitterness. You as a manifesting generator could be experiencing disappointment, but it's because you have unaddressed frustration. The not self is the quality of mind that will manifest, right? So I'm manifesting disappointment. I'm disappointed in something. When we are not surrendered to the reality, we're not surrendered to the form. Also, happy eclipse day, guys. Thanks, Emily, for the reminder. And heaven is absolutely here on earth if you are surrendered to being here on earth in a physical human body, right? The people that experience hell, they're the people that are like, oh, I was born at the wrong time, or I was born in the wrong body, or a blah, etc., or something's wrong with my body. It's like, no, friend. Like, before you go to that, experiment with something like this and do your darndest to surrender to your form in your physical body. For some people it's going to be easier than others, right? For other people it's going to be more challenging than others. And for that, until you actually get through those challenges, like, you can't just wish the world were easier. You can't wish gravity was less. You can't wish inflation were lower. Like, you have to just be better. You have to just be better. What's up, y'all? We on one today. No alignment when I'm better, nothing good happens. Exactly. And so this is the thing, is like, human design is not, it's not a law, right? But it's one of the clearest depictions of the natural laws that I've ever seen. And I've been studying them for over a decade. Okay. Outside of human design, I was already looking, I was attempting to cartograph, to make maps so that we could more confidently navigate these liminal spaces, and human design happened. Yeah. Can wish for people to use their brains, or you could just stop hanging out with people that don't use their brains. Like, this is my thing. If you have to send everybody to therapy for your life to get better, not only is that going to be very expensive, but it's like, it's much easier for you to just set a standard in your life. And one of the ways that, and I think about this quote a lot, it says, "For evil to succeed, the only thing it needs is for good men to do nothing." good men and women to do nothing, good humans to do nothing. And this is the thing is, if we allow evil to stand, right? I'm a 3-5 reflector. If we allow evil to stand and we do nothing, like if I were just to allow, and this is like, this is part of the live thread that we're in right now, is there's people here on TikTok that have thousands of views, and what do? Oh man, he ain't got hands. He ain't got hands. We gonna crush his team. We go crush his. Come on, chat. Come on, chat. Like, what do? That's what they do, and it's like it's disappointing to me. But the reason it's disappointing is because I'm not putting myself out there. I'm not putting myself into the mix because I think that we could compete with those guys, and that's what we're doing right now. Is we're competing with those guys in a way because there is much more valuable information that deserves to be heard by large amounts of people using these platforms, and it's more than just like watching people like, have like little fake boxing matches with each other battling over likes. Like, it ought to be doing some good. And so I could be disappointed my entire life, or I could compete. I could show up, I could manifest myself, and this is what we do. And everybody that's here that's like, yes, we love it, please follow me, please tap the screen, because this is how we get the message out there. Is we find someone, in this case it's me. It's not always going to be me, and I hope it's not always me, because I don't want it always to be me. But we find someone who is like spitting facts and spitting the truth, and we champion them, right? And that's what we're going to do. Is we're going to champion, in this case, myself. And I do this for a handful of other creators that I love, that I'm like, yes, there should be sound healing, yes, there should be Reiki, yes, there should be these things up there. And when I'm in these lives, I'm just like, yeah, friends, tap 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 tap, getting all that energy out there. So, how can one differentiate splenic hits when intuition is compromised by trauma? Super cool question. Really, you have to experience the trauma and cultivate a non-reactivity to it. One of the best ways to do that is actually through the physical body, being myofascial release or Rolfing, if you need someone else to do it for you. But essentially, what I'm doing right now is I'm hitting a trigger point right here in the pec minor, right, which is, a lot of people have a lot of trigger points in here. And trigger points are, they're caused by what's called adhesion, which is parts of the physical body that have become mineralized or calcified or dehydrated, or it's like when you break your arm, they put a cast on you, but then they take the cast off. When you get hurt or there's trauma inside your body, whether that's physical, emotional, or mental, something in your physical body will seize, and it will stop being incorporated with the rest of your body, and it will either never let go or it will never turn on again. The way you wake it up is through pain, intentional pain. You activate that trigger point, and then you don't stimulate it. You don't like massage it. You just activate the trigger point, and you stay on it for about 2 minutes. Your hand will get tired after 2 minutes, but 2 minutes is the sweet spot to trigger nociception, which is the body's ability to determine whether a pain is um, harmful to the body, or whether, like, it's a again, a traumatic response. It's a memory of a pain. So what happens is, when you're activating these trigger points, this is called soft tissue, by the way. If you look up myofascial release or Rolfing, you can get information on this. I also have a community with courses that are epic, that you can just learn these sequences of how to release trauma from the body, because you don't release trauma by talking about it. You release trauma from the physical body by getting the water that's holding the memory of the trauma out through tears, sweat, spitting, coming, bleeding, any of that kind of stuff. Trauma leaves the body through water. So the discernment between intuition and trauma is going to be helped along. The process will be helped along if you do something like that soft tissue. If you increase your awareness of the trauma, and you stop trying to heal the trauma. Because healing the trauma and being able to get the water out of your body are not always the same thing. Check this out. People get addicted to healing their trauma. It's just some real shit that maybe some people are not ready for, but here it goes. People are addicted to healing their trauma so much that their body will be ready to release the trauma, and instead of releasing the trauma, they will hang on to it, because it gives them a sense of purpose. It gives them something to do, right? This is why I'm not for healing trauma anymore. I'm for awareness of trauma and loving trauma, and that's it. That satisfies beyond what I think healing trauma does, because healing trauma is the same as like fixing yourself. It's fine to work on yourself, but as you are, there's nothing wrong with you. That's the way I see it. And because, and again, it's like you could be born without an arm, and I would say, yeah, there's nothing wrong with you. Like you were here to have an experience where you don't have an arm. Like, why do you believe that, Marco? Like, isn't that just wishful thinking? It's like, sure, what is your way of thinking about it? That you're being punished? I don't that's just not that's just not how I do it. Okay, okay, I needed that. Budding trees. Thank you for receiving. Felicity, thank you for receiving. Again, this is my style. I just put this stuff out there because as a reflector, part of my gift is to be able to see the world and see who's actually awake and who thinks they're awake and who's actually still dreaming. And this is part of what I offer in my sessions. It's like you can go faster on your own, but you can only go far if you go together. And this is where I team up with people in my sessions, in my one-on-ones, and I show them like, okay, here are the places where you're still dreaming. There's still how you say some sleepiness in your life. That part, yes. I've never met a reflector before. Yeah, there's only 1% of the world that's a reflector, but we are beings that very rarely reach a point of maturity where we're actually able to contribute something to the world. Most reflectors, which are mirrors for their environment, based off of like the baseline projector, is a mirror, or a reflector. Reflector is a mirror for their environment. Most reflectors go freaking crazy. They don't know because they're reflecting a crazy environment. So that's what happens. So I put myself in the middle of an island, in the middle of a jungle, and I'm a 3-5. As a manifester, how do I know what to inform people about, or if I'm going in the right direction? So, internal authority is where you look to this. So, if you are an emotional authority manifester, let people know when you're in emotional waves, or when you can't make decisions, or you can't move forward, or you don't know what to do when you're in emotional waves, right? 352 emotional, yeah, right. So it's not tell everyone what's going on with your emotions. It's for the people that it impacts, let them know you're in an emotional wave. And one thing that I always say is, even if somebody else started the emotional wave, for the emotionally defined people, especially manifestors, tell your people maybe who the emotional wave is about is, hey, I'm in an emotional wave. It has nothing to do with you yet. It has nothing to do with you. It's me and my emotions. I don't want to have this conversation. I can't make a decision. I'm not going to make a decision. I'm going to go tend to my emotional wave, especially if the other person caused the emotional wave in your mind. Give them the benefit of the doubt and say, this is my emotional wave. Even if they've done something, claim the emotional wave, ride the emotional wave out on your own. Using my method is, number one, track the emotional wave. Two is go somewhere safe, which is usually away from the source of the emotional energy. Um, Three is going to be amplify the emotional wave, meaning like get to the end of your sadness, get to the end of your happiness, cry the tears, sweat it out, get to the end of your anger. Don't try and make yourself feel better. Like amplify the emotions, get to the end. It's psychotic break. Like that's something that I feel like psychiatrists invented along with ADHD so they could sell medications and shit. Psychotic breaks typically happen because people do not process their emotions in a fruitful way. Now, after you've had your break, your catharsis, then you lay down, integrate. That's when you re-enter the world with more clarity, right? And clarity is not certainty. Clarity is not, I'm looking at all the things in the external world and everything is where it needs to be. That's how I can move forward. Clarity is, I've moved through everything that I can find inside myself, and now I'm clear. My emotions feel this way about you because, oh, I'm not doing a good job of upholding my boundaries. Right. So, and boundaries and standards are different. And if you've never heard this before, boundaries and standards are different. Standard says take your shoes off when you come into my house. Boundaries said, hey, you didn't take your shoes off when you came into my house. I have a sign on the door. I have a floor mat. I have a standard. You don't wear your shoes in my house. Please take your shoes off. That's a boundary. Boundaries suck. They're exhausting. If you have to erect boundaries in your world, it's because your standards of life are not clear enough, probably not clear enough to you. I'd probably be concerned and emotionally typhoon. Exactly, because it's like when you're emotional, like give yourself a space to be emotional. Give yourself a safe space to be emotional. You can think about kids who like are really upset and their parents are worried about like, oh, what are people going to think that I'm a bad parent, blah blah blah. So they smack their kid or they do some shit to their kid that's like, okay, now I think you're a bad parent. But anyway, you know, you don't want to do that to yourself. So if you're feeling emotional, and usually people are not able to hold space emotionally, and by hold space emotionally, I mean I know how to do this. If someone's emotional in front of me, I know how to tune in and actually figure out what it is they need, which most of the time when people are emotional, they just need to be alone. Most of the time when people are emotional, they just need to be told, hey, look, your emotions are totally valid. They're totally natural. Okay. Take some time with your emotions. Don't try and rush through them. There's nothing wrong with them. Just take your time with them. Feel what you got to feel. Right. And that's it. It's people don't need, oh, well, what are you emotional about? Oh, blah, 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 blah. They don't need that shit. They really don't. And that is part of the kind of like healing trauma psychosis that a lot of people are in. That's kind of like that, right? It gives them like permission to like basically I'm not gonna say it, to masturbate of themselves into like meaning, which is annoying. So yeah, so I usually get told to get over it. Right. And those are people that have very low emotional intelligence because the thing about it is, for me to see some like a crazy person just going off wild, my first and I've trained myself to be this way. Not like hardly any people do this. My first inclination is to think that wow, this person is moving through some really intense emotional waves. I have empathy for them. Now, when I see that same person in the same spot doing the exact same thing over and over and over again, I think, oh wow, this person is really resisting something, and they're making a scene as a way of resisting it rather than actually processing that emotion. That's usually how it is for me. It's being analytical instead of feeling it in your body. Exactly, which you need some level of analysis, right? But more than that, you need to feel it in your body because trauma is not in the mind, it's in the physical body, it's in the physical tissues of the body. So, in order to relieve yourself from the impact of that trauma, you have to feel it. You have to feel it to heal it. So one of the most cliches. Darian, thank you for following. Um, appreciate you. Welcome to my world. that that was a good one, guys. That got me going. Yeah, and it's because I know so many like actual somatic therapists and like people that know actually how to relieve trauma or relieve the grip of trauma from humans. Um, Madam Crawford, thank you for following. Appreciate you. Today I felt the 18th gate in transit. I've been feeling it big time. Like everybody right now is looking at the world and being like, if they only did this different. And that's our sun transit today. That was really good. What do we do after we feel it? Okay, great question. So after you feel it, that's the time to like lay down. The urge will be to like, oh, share your clarity with the world, but don't let it settle first. Let it integrate. Because what happens when you like after you, let's say you're like a really sad and you're like, oh God, I'm gonna have this thing. Oh, people are gonna think I'm crazy. No, remember what Marco said on the live, just let yourself cry. Oh, cry, 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 cry. Okay, that's the end of the tears. The last step is lay down. It's like just let it integrate because sometimes there's more. And sometimes the let me go tell people about it. Um, then it's like you're leaking the energy. So what I usually do with emotional waves is whenever I have that after that catharsis, I usually wait a day or two before I start talking about it again. Because I want to see how much of my body has actually integrated it and how much talking to people, because talking to people will help to a degree. But it's like, if you are relying on people to carry you around because you got a messed up leg when you could be using a crutch and like getting stronger, or you could be doing physical therapy and working through the pain and walking stronger, like you could just end up using people as a crutch for your entire life. So I recommend not doing that. As a projector, I just need a reflector friend. I can be a reflector friend. I'm a lot of people's reflector friends. Um, but yeah, that's why I come on here, is because I realize like the world does need more reflectors that are actually sound. Not a lot of reflectors are sound because unfortunately they're reflecting things that are um, heavily influenced by the external authority. My son has trauma. I've been trying to give him space to feel what he's been going through. Yeah, it's, again, it's like nothing ever happens on the timeline that the mind wants, right? Like flowers don't grow fast enough, fruit doesn't ripen fast enough. But then when fruit's going bad, it doesn't stay ripe long enough. The mind, that's the mind's job, is to poke holes in patterns. And nature's patterns are, in a way, more complex than the mind has capacity for. Um, there's 57 people in here. Let's tap, tap, tap to 20K. It's so funny. I'm like, sometimes I read these comments and I'm like, oh, it's Jenny just like gassing us up. Thank you. If you guys are enjoying the live, please do us a favor. Tap the screen, share the screen, make sure you like, make sure you follow. That's what I was like, make sure you follow. If you have the ability to tap the screen, please do that and share it if you also feel inspired, because we are competing with like NPCs and those dumb, like, oh yeah, chat, let's go, like, that are doing nothing. They're not doing anything other than to like allow people to continue to glaze over the eyes and not develop self-awareness, not develop self-compassion. So please, we are competing with those guys. I want to be more higher up than them. And part of it is ego, because it's like, yeah, that'd be cool for me. But also part of it is like, I know what I'm talking about. I know the people that I've helped over the years. And so if you guys want to contribute to sending that message out to the world, more people are going to find human design. More people are going to cultivate self awareness and compassion for themselves and others because you're tapping the screen. I will deliver on that. So thank you for the taps. Thank you for the likes. I'm surrounded by generators and manifesting generators. Ah, yes, the projector that's surrounded by manifesting generators and generators. You work really well with generators and manifesting generators. The One of the hardest things I think about being with an undefined sacral, being around generators and manifesting generators, is that when it feels good, it feels really good. And when it doesn't feel good, it feels really not good. So the key is not necessarily like taking the good and leaving the bad, but it's having a standard. And this is where the invitation comes from. Because if you have generators that really understand you, or accept you and invite you, like, those usually are really, really good. And I have a manifesting generator friend who, when he's in an emotional wave, he goes, Marco, I love you. I'm in an emotional wave. I'm going to leave the house. I don't want my emotional wave to be impacting you. That's the kind of generators and manifesting generators you want to be around. Or, hey, I'm having this like surge of sacral energy. I don't want it to distract you from what you're doing. So you're actually not invited to go do this thing with me because I know this is a thing for me. Right. And this, again, this is self awareness. And the higher voltage you raise your own standard of self awareness, the more that you will see that reflected in the world. So I'm a generator, but I don't know how to focus it. Any recommendations? Singing, dancing, generators, big you gotta get the workout in, right? You gotta put the energy somewhere. The way that you focus it is you listen to the if it's it's like boop, get it shows you exactly, like, pick the thing up, smell it. uh no. Okay, how about this? Mm-hmm. That's what you focus on, right? Or the like, that's what you focus on. Now it's not gonna make sense mentally, and in fact, it's probably gonna conflict. Your mind is probably gonna be like, but do that thing. You're thirsty, aren't you? Drink that. But it's like, no, actually, before thirst, I'm seeking satisfaction and a satisfying thirst. Maybe there's something wrong with the water. I don't know. Sniff everything. Yeah. Generators, very tactile. And even non-generators, like, that water tastes gross. I don't want that. Um, I apologize that I have no type at work, but I'm trying to Jenny, just you coming in and saying that every like 5 minutes is super helpful. We're already at 16,000, which is epic. So, how do I find life purpose without a lit up solar plexus? Awesome. So, you know, life purpose in human design is kind of explained through your incarnation cross. And so, and by the way, if you don't have your body graph, I haven't said this yet, but you can generate a body graph for free on my website. Don't worry about putting your email in there. I'm not going to like spam you with a bunch of stupid stuff. It's so that if you do want to buy a report, I know where to send it to. Okay. But you can generate a body graph on my website for free. And if you look at your incarnation cross, it'll tell you four gates that are your personality sun earth and your design sun earth that are going to be primarily responsible for your life's purpose. Right now, if you follow your strategy and authority, you will fulfill your life's purpose, which at the end of the day, the cross of the four ways, any advice? Yeah, privacy, um rhythm, nature, um traditions, establishing traditions for yourself. There's more information about that, by the way, in the reports that I sell after you generate your body graph. Highly recommend that. You can also Google it, but again, not Google. Google is not always a how you say, reliable source. Some people are out there putting out information that kind of sucks. Completely new to human design. How much are your reports? There's a $20 report that will just analyze your body graph. It's epic. And then there's a $35 report that will analyze your body graph. So it does what the $20 report does, but it also gives you an introduction to human design and techniques on how to embody it. I recommend the $35 report. It's called the Reiki report. And again, you generate your body graph on my website, and then there'll be options for those two reports. Abby says the reports are worth it. I also wrote them. So I'm like, yes, they're definitely worth it. And if you don't think it's worth it, I'm not like here for money. I'm here to like give the information to people. So any insights on environmental authority, super jelly of anyone with internal authority? Dom, I feel you. I'm a reflector, so mine is lunar. You sound like a mental projector. It's important to have for people like us to stick together, because you're going to be able to see things about me that I can't see for myself, and I'm going to be able to see things about you that you can't see for yourself. I'll take care of myself, you take care of yourself for me, and then we'll be able to help each other. It's called an incarnation cross. um, yeah, I've had my friends order it for themselves. Thank you, Felicity. Appreciate you. They're pretty decent reports, honestly. If we purchase the $20 ones, can we add the other, or do we need to repurchase? You would have to repurchase, but it would be the same. So what you could do is repurchase it for one of your friends, so that way you have a different analysis in the body graph part, but the intro to human design and the techniques will be the same. Yeah, and again, this is about incarnation crosses. So even better is a one-on-one call. Exactly. Baron knows as well. We've had some chats before. Lizzie, me and my husband are both manifestors. That sounds fun. Oh my god. My daughter is a manifester. One of my dear friends is a manifester. And it's like manifestors, like y'all are some of the coolest people to be around when all your informing is like happening. And what I was saying earlier too about incarnation cross and life purpose, it's like your strategy and authority will take you steps, it will bring you to your life's purpose. Like as an emotional generator, your life's purpose is to be emotionally satisfied. As a splenic projector, your job, your purpose is to be health, like successfully in the health department, successful in the health department. As a ego manifester, your purpose is to be um peacefully, like or like have achieved things and have found peace. Like it's your signature and your strategy and your internal authority that are going to bring you to your purpose. So anyway, as a manifesting generator, do I just wait for love to come to me? Yes. Yes. If you as a manifesting generator and a generator, typically you're not going to be the one that's going to want to how you say, initiate, let's be lovers. You might be the one to say like, hey, I really like your shoes. Like you might be responding to something. Um, but you're not the one to like, hey, I want to go into this relationship container. Do you want to come with me? Right? Typically it's like, and think about this too. You know those relationships where it's like two people obviously love each other and they spend all their time together, but they're not in a relationship because they're both like waiting for the other one to be like, let's be in a container together. That's one of the best situations to find love, is that you are like really sure about this person, but it's like you're not looking for the label of the container to give the relationship meaning, because you already have the relationship, right? A lot of initiating relationships, especially I would say for women, has to do with them wanting some kind of external validation for the way that they feel. Men do this too, but in a different way. Sean reflects. Are you a reflector, Sean? Sean reflector? If you are, what's up, my brother? My partner is an MG, and we just came together naturally. Didn't seem to really initiate at all. Right. So that's the thing is, it's like things will sort of initiate themselves if you're patient enough and you have a clear enough standard. Being a projector, I'm having to relearn everything I thought I had to do to get what I want. Finch, a lot of people are in that boat. Um, Super important, super important. And because we don't want to get hurt. Is that in response to the relationships and stuff? Totally, I get it. And it's like, again, waiting and having a high, like for instance, if you're not in a relationship with someone, in my opinion, probably don't like be intimate with that person, right? Until you have the green flag checklist checked off. Don't like be intimate with someone. Don't share your sacred sexual energy with someone who has yet to create a safe container for you. As women, that is your job. Like as a woman, your job is to be like, hey, the container has been set, I can surrender. Don't surrender if the container hasn't been set. Please, please, please. And I know there's not a ton of great examples of men setting good containers, but also don't just like believe a man. Like if he says like you're the only one I'm seeing, like cool, be a little skeptical. Let them prove that the container is sound, right? You don't need to be like crazy and like throwing rocks in there. That's there's a difference between like waiting to see if words are real and if they're backed up by behaviors, and like repeating trauma and projecting your old relationships onto like new relationships. um Someone was asking about astrology and human design, so anyway, best HD coach out there, thank you, appreciate you. Waiting for action is key. Yeah, like there's so much going on that if you attempt to initiate 90, again, if unless you're a manifestor, if you attempt to initiate and you're a projector, manifesting generator, or reflector, like you are probably going to be so involved with the initiating thing or the waves around initiating things that you're going to miss the thing that's meant for you, that's like just pulled up. You're going to be so busy initiating, making the thing happen, that you're going to miss the thing that just pulled up on you. So I'm a generator. My oldest is a projector. My daughter is a manifesting generator. Youngest is Helga. You got like the whole squad. That's awesome. So as a mama to a squad like that, one of the things is like, and I do this a lot in training, right? My right hand can do things that my left hand can't. My left hand does things that my right hand can't. I love them differently, right? I love them equally in terms of like how much value they bring to me, but in terms of utility, this one does things this doesn't. And in terms of creativity, this one does things this doesn't. And so if you want to know your human design, just visit the website reikimarco.com. It'll generate a body graph for you. Don't worry about entering your email into my website. I'm not going to like sell it to anyone or send you a bunch of spam. It's just so if you want to buy a report or you want to book a session, I know who to contact, right? Synchronicity, much welcome. Hello, you finally made it live. I'm so happy you're here. Conscious Cat, human design helps with everything, right? In a nutshell, human design is essentially a map for you to be able to track your movements in your journey of surrendering to your how you say, to your body, to your form. So in order to access the reports and all of that, you have to generate your body graph first. So Lizzie, generate your body graph first, and then you'll be able to see the $35 option. Yeah. I love looking at my family's charts, making so much sense. It's wild. I will look into that. Thank you. Yes. Lizzie, did you run? Yeah. So for people that want the chart, you have to plug in your information. You get your chart. After you get your chart, that's where you'll see the report options. Human design taught me that I am an emotional person, and I stopped trying to make myself less. Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's like, hey, look, you're this way. Stop fighting the way that you are. Find people and find yourself acceptance, and your people will find you. That's what it is. By the way, we're at 20,000 views or 20,000 likes, which is nuts. Love you guys. You guys are kicking butt. My human design journey is just getting started. I've appreciated your shares. Summer, aloha. Thank you. Thank you. So if you don't know your birth time, my favorite human design app, Neutrino Design, which you can get via the link in my bio at 25% off, is they just added a birth rectification feature. So now this is an interesting thing because who you think you are may not be who you actually are. However, this is a cool experiment in terms of being able to um, see yourself. Ah, yes, my lord. So I got a special guest that I kept as a surprise um, that we're gonna drop into. We're gonna invite him up here in a minute. Um, but to finish on this birth times thing, basically download the app, get the app, which I recommend everyone has the app if you're into human design because it's a really good resource for having your friends' charts, etc. And what you want to do is generate your body graph in the app, and then one of the options, the sliders at the top, will be um, birth time rectification. So Neutrino Design now has a birth time rectification feature, which is epic. And with that being said, how do you read your chart? Again, if you have the app, it's a lot of like tapping and learning. If you have my report, it's literally as simple as reading your PDF. I do one-on-ones as well, which are epic. And someone asked earlier, what does it consist of? It's like I figure out how much you know about yourself, and I figure out kind of like where you want to go, and I tell you what your next steps are based off human design. So yeah, sessions are they're super fun because it's like this is like a lot of people and a lot of energy. When I'm one on one with you, it's like you can imagine all of this just like focused on you. It's very different. So anyway, I'm gonna bring my brother um on live here with us. His name is Andrew, and he is a druid. He's a manifesting generator as well, and he's just an epic human being. So he's going to be logging on right now. He's new to the TikTok world, so you guys are some of the first people to be introduced to him. But this is a brother that I've hosted many and experienced many retreats with. We've done a lot of healing work together for other people, and we each have our own unique flavor. So for those of you that are into the druid vibes and the death codes, life force energy, Andrew here is one of the living legends. So I'm really excited to introduce him to you. So this, by the way, I would like to say for anyone that is like human design, these kinds of conversations are cool because this next segment is about to be a little bit different. Next opportunity to hop in here live with us is going to be on Friday. So Friday at 9 a.m. Hawaii time. That's noon Pacific Standard Time, and what 3 p.m. East Coast time. That is going to be the next time that we're going to do something like this. East Coast time. So that is going to be the next time that we're going to East Coast time. That is going to be the next time that we're going to. Hey, Andrew.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on, but I think it's just doing audio for me.
Interesting.
It won't let me put on my video here. I'm trying to figure out.
Well, that's very strange.
I think I don't have enough followers.
Maybe everyone go follow Andrew so he can actually like have a video. Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. But anyway, I mean this is what is this fun kid? It's so funny. I feel like such a boomer just like coming over here just like oh, how do we get this? How do we get the video working over here? Just like tapping the same button, getting the same thing.
Oh yeah, that's me over here, man. I got gray in my beard now.
I love
this
it.
TikTok game.
I love it. Yeah. So one of my followers says you have to have a certain amount of followers. But just until then, someone's sending you roses and stuff. Theoret, thank you. Dude, people on TikTok are just so sweet and so lit. And they're honestly, I feel like a lot of the TikTok population is super malnourished, bro. Like, because there's so many, for the lack of a better word, like useless or like objectively valueless creators on TikTok, and they have nothing better to do than go live and capture all of this attention. And so, like I was telling you, it's been part of my mission to like give the people of TikTok some actual nutrition and keep it entertaining, but to give them some kind of like actual nutrition, because it's kind of like a dried up water hole in terms of the lives. There's a handful of people doing like card readings and stuff, but I've just been getting on here for the past month. It's been epic, and we've just been dropping bombs. We've got like 24,000 likes. I found a couple like it's like epic. I don't want to call them cheerleaders because that seems like they're totally cheerleaders. They're just like, go Marco, get to the top. Like, give us the medicine. So it's awesome.
I got a question for you.
Yeah. What's up?
So I was looking at the Neutrino app yesterday, and there's like some new function on there. There's like some like trauma that you're born with or something like that. And I have like the guilt. I have like the guilt wound. Do you know about that stuff?
Interesting. So
like some new thing on there.
Yeah. They're always adding new things. Let me see. I don't know if I have you on Neutrino. What's your birthday?
November 27th, 1986.
So 11/27/1986. What time?
1:01 p.m.
13:01. Phoenix?
Houston, Texas.
Houston?
H-Town.
H-Town, baby.
Down in the dirty.
I love it. All right. Well, so genetic trauma, and one of the things I love about Neutrino too is, right, like you can just kind of like click on it and read about it. What is your motivation too? Is your motivation also guilt? Motivation is desire. Very interesting. So I'll be totally honest, bro. I don't know exactly what the genetic trauma comes from. It looks like the Mars line. So we'll look at whatever you have in Mars. And I guess it's on your design Mars. Yeah, design Mars line. So it comes from the design Mars placement, specifically the line in your case 5. And there's trauma of suppression, trauma of denial, trauma of shame, trauma of rejection, and trauma of guilt, and trauma of separation is 6. I have the trauma of separation. All right. And if we just like read what it says here, and kind of like fit it into the context. It says you feel guilty or you play on other people's guilt by making them feel guilty. Everything has a bad energy of I'm being blamed. These individuals are often loners. Everyone has experienced the sensation that the world is unjust. Forgiveness is essential. Forgiveness of oneself, others, and fate. Working as a manager, coordinator, or optimizer will be the deliverance, which that makes a lot of sense for just knowing you. Especially coming into like, because right, a lot of the like we're given this because we're that's what we're supposed to like teach the world in a way, is like how to live with this thorn in you and not like be pissed off at the world because of the thorn, right?
Yeah, like the poison in the medicine. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I actually have someone's asking which website am I looking this up on. So this is still Neutrino design. So this is all, if you go into your app and you tap it, you tap your app, you can see it right there. It's in the advanced sections of it. And yeah, everything I do just comes through Neutrino. So but yeah, it says it's one of the most challenging of the 6 traumas, which makes a lot of sense because I think the sense of like I'm doing something wrong. Like for me, my motivation is guilt. And so I've learned how to personally like find things that I feel guilty about. Like for instance, these lives, I feel guilty if I don't go live, because then all of the TikTok audience, all they have is the NPCs and the battle, the heretical battle brothers is what I'm going to call them. Have you seen the TikTok live? Felicity, the link is in my bio. Yeah. You don't necessarily need your name is not going to change it. But yeah, dude, we're competing with NPCs and the forces of chaos and heretical battle brothers. So
I feel that.
Yeah, it's wild. But yeah, what caused you to, what did anything stand out to you about the trauma, or the genetic trauma of guilt?
Shannon was just sharing it with me yesterday as she was exploring the app. It was like a new feature or whatever. And
got it.
Yeah, so it's like forgiveness is the medicine I'm often working with. So it just kind of confirms that, of like yeah, forgiving the things that may be lingering within my field around certain stuff that I feel guilty about. There's like more space for me to do like forgiveness practices within myself or with others.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. It's also because Mars too is like really about conflict and how we're going to deal with how you say opposition and the energy, like managing the energy dynamics, and so that makes sense. One thing about guilt too is like hope is like the opposite of guilt, at least in motivational terms. And now we're at 30K. You guys rock. Freaking love you. um the opposite of guilt is hope, which is like guilt is if I do the things that I know I need to do, things will work out. And if I don't do them, if I don't do the things I feel guilty of doing, then things won't work out. Hope is like I hope it works out. Kind of in a thing like I hope this person forgives me, as opposed to me like taking the effort and doing the work to forgive themselves. And then
Mm,
yours is desire, right? Which is really
yeah.
about acquisition of skills, knowledge, and influence in order to lead and inspire others. Which is definitely, I definitely see that in you, especially these chapters like post Suns is like very much so like oh yeah, like I got to turn on my circuitry. I can't just like rely on um yeah somebody else's way to lead me, especially as like with you. I mean you have so much definition, bro. I haven't really like looked at your chart too deep. You have, oh my god, bro, you got so much going on there. That's awesome.
Yeah, I really feel that right now. You know, it's the cultivation of skills and abilities, and like, yeah, bringing the visions to the earth and creating. Now it feels like
Hmm. Which
that's
is
the way.
interesting because and obviously there's a subtle but quite big difference between generators and manifesting generators. And one of the things that I've noticed in differences in terms of like the manifestation rate for manifesting generators is just so much quicker. Like it still works best to like be in response to things, but with like manifesting generators, once they like really like sit and they figure out like what satisfy them or what they're going to go after. um yeah, manifesting generators, y'all can just materialize stuff out of nowhere. It's wild.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, because you have this whole um you call it the mentorium, right?
Yeah,
You got that going up, that's happening, and then again you're working on like multiple projects, which is that like overwhelms me in a lot of ways. um Having multiple projects or having
oh yeah, my kitchen's full, bro.
more than two projects is a lot. But anyway, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, it's really fun to like see that happen, or like also really interesting to see when like you get too pigeonholed how bored you get of one thing.
For sure, man. I got four. I'm currently running and operating five.
Right.
It's pretty wild.
Right. And then you add something to your plate and it's like, wow, now I have energy to do the things that had come previous before when I didn't have energy, when there was less things. But sometimes the answer is more things and more activation.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like each day, I look at what project do I want to work on. It's like whatever one excites me gets the energy, and then it shifts like midday, and it's just like it's interesting. The to do lists are like all over the place, but like sometimes the whole list will get fulfilled for one project, and then the next day it's like another one. It's wild.
Right. Yeah. And it's important to be adaptive because that's where your sacral can actually guide you. Because some days you have energy for this project and not that project. But your mind wants to be like, oh, if I work on all projects equally, then that's the best strategy. But it's like, dude, your strategy is to use your energy as best you can. And your sacral is like, to that, to this, do this. Right.
Yeah, and I like what Emily says. Like start things constantly, but run out of energy to finish. Like that's been my lesson in life is
Mm,
not seeing things through to completion. But as soon as I started devoting myself to like if I'm going to start something, I am going to finish it at some point, unless it's like this project needs to be pruned. It's not working. But like there is an emphasis too of like I have to see these things through to completion. Like they have to be done as well. Because
yeah.
I think like you can ride that like excitement wave and not really be very devoted to actually like going the distance, but really it comes in when you go the distance with the things, you know?
Right, for sure. And you also have the defined heart as well, which is like very much so. The defined heart is really that kind of like overdrive that can kick in. I don't have it,
Mhm.
and so I notice when it's like I'm like, oh man, I wish I had, or not I wish I had a defined heart, but I there's like, man, if I had some heart energy here, if I had my ego wrapped up in this a little bit more, I could like push it out and send it, but I don't. So this is a lot of the times the things that I end up doing are sometimes like half cooked, and that I just lean into my third line of like, look, and I should be talking because I haven't released any music recently, but I have a lot of music that's like very close to completion. Yeah, very close to completion, and I'm like, what am I waiting for? And it's like, just you don't want people to listen to it, and it's like, no, not yet. I'm like, oh, well, ride out another lunar cycle on it, bro. Gang, 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 gang. Exactly. Which is another thing that I've realized too about human design is it's like it's almost like a joke book now, where it's like I've gotten to the point because I've been studying it for like 10 years, where it's like I can crack better jokes on myself now. Like when I do third line things where like things are like half baked or I've made a mistake on something, instead of like wallowing in it for hours or being like projecting into the future, like, oh, I'm not gonna get anything done. I'm just like, if I got third line, break it, bro. Just break it. Build it again from scratch. Cool. That's what you're born to do. So anyway, yeah, 3-5 gang. I love being a 3-5. And you're a 6-2. Yeah, you're entering your like your sage years now.
Yeah, that's where the grays are coming through, bro.
The gray, yep, the grays. Yeah, you're gonna have a baby
Gray
soon
beard.
too, bro. So that's gonna be even more the sage years. Nothing like puts you on the roof like a kid, swear.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I'm excited, man.
Bro, I'm so excited for you. Like you're awesome as a man. So like you as a dad is just gonna be so much more fun. And then also too, I find that at least for me and I envision for you as well, that's where the abundance really kicked off. As a man, having something to actually work for and work towards is like this is like the motivation that, like for me, it's like I feel guilty if I don't send it for my daughter. For you, it would be like your desire is to send it, like achieve things for your son. So it's just like,
Mhm.
the concept of legacy, I think, is so important as well, because a lot of what we're working with human design is about the physical world. It's about the physical reality. It's a very different system than like, oh, do this for a reward in heaven. It's like, yeah, what is the impact now? What is the consequence? What is the possibility? What is the reward now or in 10 years? But not after we die. And ultimately the impact that we do leave after we die is in through like the lives and the people's lives that we touch while we are physically alive, or the things that we leave behind for them. And so yeah, it's just very, very different, this system, um which I'm stoked about, that like there's so much more popularity, because when I started learning this, bro, like there are a lot of people that were into this, not a
No,
lot of
for
people.
sure.
And there weren't a lot of resources either. Like the apps sucked. um they didn't suck, they just were like super, they suck compared to what we have now. But anyway, yeah. Let's see. I use my human design to help guide my daughter, especially in the way we digest. Brilliant. That's a big lesson for parents as well, is like looking at a body graph as opposed, like, because it's like when you get like a Lego set, right? There's like instructions for the Lego set. But when you get a kid, there's like, Instagram moms and motivational books. And it's like, this is how everyone else did it. But it's like your child is going to be so unique, right? Your child is going
Yeah.
to be so unique, and if you're able to look at something that shows you how in what ways that they're unique, and you can help foster that, like there's just going to be this whole generation of people who are raised that by with human design, that are just going to be a totally different kind of fucked up. Not going to lie, it's like I think it's like a parent's job to like fuck up their kids, like in a way, is like give them fuel to like get to grow beyond what their parents did. But I saw that as a joke. It's like two parents, and they're like, one of them is like, I'm never gonna do to my kid what my mom did to me or what my parents did to me. And then the little kid has text on him and it says like a whole different kind of fucked up. Because right, we always want to think that we're doing our best, but until we can actually see what's best for the child and not what's necessarily best for us as children, or what we project to be best for children and what's actually best, like that kind of experiment, this is probably one of the first generations that's actually going to have a massive wave of kids that are actually informed and parented using human design. My parents talk to me about my feelings too much. Exactly. Like they didn't understand human design that well. I have tribal emotional wave. They should have just been like touching my head and stuff. Yeah, it's cool. Someone was asking about, do you support for each person? Yeah, so it's like, again, like what would be good for Andrew in terms of his human design? He has the tribal circuitry, right? And so for Andrew, it's like the emotions for him, like the best remedy is going to be from his tribe, specifically through touch. It's not like talking it out or what a lot of people would think is healing, and that's because of your tribal circuitry. And sometimes it's like you don't ever even need to talk about what you're going through if you can get the right kind of touch, which straight up sometimes is right, like getting punched in the face, right? Or wrestled down to the ground and held down on the ground and like try to get up. And so there's a lot of different ways to process emotions than just like psychoanalyzing them. And that's another thing that I love, that human design is here to like bring down the Babylon of like pharmaceuticals and psychoanalysis therapy. It's just like the Lord is here.
For me, it's always been physical. It's like I need a massage or I need to like wrestle. It's been like that.
Right, and that's even before knowing about human design, and you had your own path to like self-awareness that now brings you to a place where it's like you can look at human design and what your body graph is sharing, like I'm sharing right now, and you can be like, oh yeah, so that's why it's the 4037. And ultimately, unless you have a place for that in your life, you're not going to be able to access the gift of that channel, which is community, right? And so the more you embrace that emotional wave and your way of moving through the emotional wave, like until you embrace it, there's no community that's going to show up around you. Once you start embracing it, that's when all the community starts to show up, because human beings have that like authenticity, the bullshit meter that goes off. And when they feel you, they're going to feel either you have awareness and honoring of your emotional center, or you don't, right? And the people that also do that for themselves will gravitate towards you. The people that don't do that for themselves may gravitate towards you, but most of them will be like, oh, that person's going to hold me accountable. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
The filter, bro. It's a lot. Let's see. I work with generational and childhood trauma through secret language of the emotional body. Love that. Like that kind of stuff is, I'm so happy that like you wouldn't hear about that like a decade ago, right? Is the type of emotional wave on the Neutrino app. It is, yeah. So if you look at the like if you click on the channel that you have, it should tell you, if you scroll all the way to the bottom of that channel, it'll tell you what circuit it's a part of, or the circuit group that it's a part of. And basically, if you have the tribal circuit group with a channel from your solar plexus, the tribal is what we're talking about here with Andrew, which is based around touch. The individual is based around melancholy and alone time. And then the collective is based around like basically letting go of expectations. So those are the three types of emotional waves. Yes. Wow, raising 3 granddaughters, 14, 15 pregnant, and 19. They're not woke, but my mission. Tracy's still typing, I think. Dude, it's funny because it's now that I invited you to the live, it's like showing me like Danny. He was here with us on Maui once or twice. Danny Panzella, all the people that are like on TikTok that are like my actual friends, like IRL. Right. It's showing me to invite them. That's funny. It's like, oh, you like having, and this, and again, still learning a lot about live. Like, obviously, we didn't know that you need a certain number of followers. Still learning a lot about live. Like, obviously, we didn't know that you need. Still learning a lot about live. Like, obviously, we didn't know that you need. Still learning a lot about. All right, I turned off your microphone for a second. Is the app called Neutrino Design? Yes, the app is called Neutrino Design. I recommend getting it through my website, though. If you go through the links in my website, you can get 25% off. I recommend that because you can get 25% off. What emotional wave is channel 3740? So this is one we were talking about with Andrew. So that's the physical one, right? How can a 3-5 sacral MG prioritize when multiple things excite you? Do them all. What does your sacral have energy for to do right now? That's what you gotta ask. Prioritize the thing that you actually have energy for doing, because if you, like, for instance, if you prioritize something that you don't have energy to do, but you are mentally prioritizing it, you will invariably kind of like destroy any excitement or any sacral energy that does want to go to that aspect. So, and it's hard to say, because it's like, yes, there's timelines, there's there's things that need to get done according to the external authority. But again, you create your own external authority by how often you follow your internal authority. If you never follow your internal authority, the external authority will be completely composed of other people's internal authority, and you will never get the things that you want. Mental projectors with no spleen gates, heavy extremes, learning to feel slightly in balance. Yes, budding trees. I highly recommend, and you can get this in the archive, but learn biomechanics, sprint, and throw things. Like sprinting, throwing things, walking, running, and throwing are going to be super powerful for you. Also, kicking, really helpful. And as well, because you're a mental projector, find like a reflector. Find someone like me that is like grounded and can actually, like, you can soundboard with them, and they know how to just like not say anything and just listen to you, or they give advice that is actually tailored to you, and they know how not to project, right? Where do we find the emotional wave again? I'm looking in the app right now. So if you click on your body graph and you just scroll down, it's in general, it'll say authority, right? And so authority, emotional, then you can click on it, and then you can scroll down, and it'll actually tell you how authority is determined, but then it'll also tell you what wave you have in it. So just click on the authority, and that'll tell you what you're talking about. What if we keep procrastinating on our own potential because it feels unfamiliar? Definitely, I totally get that. And it would help to know what type you are, conscious cat, because sometimes procrastination is like, again, the thing you think you need to do for yourself may not actually be the thing that you actually need to do, right? Like, if you need to do, like, for instance, if you need to take care of your physical body, and you think that is how you say, getting up and training for an hour every day, but you procrastinate that. What I would recommend is start smaller. Don't train for an hour. Train for 15 minutes. Do that 5 days for out of the week, then bump it up to 20 minutes. But primarily, guys, if you're having trouble doing anything, like, you're probably just trying to do too much of it. So do less of it, right? Like, do again, instead of half an hour of meditation, do 5 minutes of meditation, but do it more consistently, and build up to what it is that you want to do, is what I would say. Also, the thing with procrastination, again, it, thinking about your own potential is different than looking at your capacity right now. Because again, for instance, if you want to set a goal of, like, I want to weigh this much, right? And let's say it's like you have to lose 20 or 30 pounds. Don't try and lose 20 or 30 pounds. Try and lose 5 pounds. Try and lose a pound in a month. Set the goal so low that you can't help but hit it, and then do that consistently. And in 12 months, you will have lost 12 pounds. So you see how this works? It's compounding. Um, I know a little bit Ayurveda. It's definitely interesting to see the overlap. What I'm most familiar with is like the doshas and how, like, our body types work, which, again, the expression, I'm getting to the point now, because I've been doing human design for 10 years, and I'm doing my best to, like, figure out how to teach people this. Definitely the rooster, that's my spirit animal. also my Chinese zodiac. I'm born 1993. Um, but the exciting thing about the overlaps, right, is that with Ayurveda, they determine doshas usually, um, from my understanding, they determine it based off of like how your physical body is. Like taller, lanky people are more kapha, shorter people are more pitta, right? And it's like teaches you how to digest and what your body needs. Human design has that expression as well, but there's a lot more factors to it. And I'm getting to the point where I'm actually being able to start to see, like, oh, you have a defined sacral. They're like, how did you know that? I was like, I just know it. That's it. I just have a sense for it. I know I know what being around a defined sacral feels like. So you probably have a defined. Yeah, you do. Okay, great. And this is the fun part about it because it's like, now I'm starting to, and a similar time as well when I've been doing exercises for my eyes, doing exercises. Which you guys want to do an eye exercise? Let me give you a little. Let me turn you on to something really cool. This is like that exclusive good that I don't usually do on lives, because this is like that next level stuff. But let's definitely get to if we can get to let's get to 40K. I'll show you guys this. It'll help us get to 40K. So what you're gonna do is you're going to keep your eyes forward, but you're gonna turn your head as far to the left as you can. On an inhale, start turning your head to the left. And when you get to the part where it's like, oh, that's as far as I can turn more and keep your eyes focused on the screen or something in front of you. When you're here at this point, swallow and then exhale. Bring your head slowly back to center. Now we're going to inhale our head to the right. Keep the eyes facing forward as far as you can go, and then a little bit farther. Swallow. Exhale. Bring your head back to center. Now we're going to do it again, but now watch my shoulder come forward. I do not want my shoulder to come forward. I want my shoulder to stay back. But typically when people are turning their head, they're also going to use their shoulder to turn their head and get more range of motion. We want to eliminate that. Keep the shoulders back. Head turns a little bit more. Swallow. Exhale, come back to center. And one more time, turn your head to the right, far as it can go. A little bit farther. Eyes are staying centered. Swallow. Exhale. And that is a what we would consider a sensory mechanic exercise. Now what you're probably feeling if you did that, there might be like this kind of like these like waves coming down your body. You might feel a little bit more relaxed. You might feel a little more grounded, right? Whoa, we might feel a little whoa, right? So these are called sensory mechanics. I can't swallow without closing my eyes first. Interesting. A little bit dizzy, right? Energy is moving. This, like, I've gotten to the point where I've done this exercise so much that I'm like, whoa, there's a lot more. And what this will do as well is it will increase your peripheral perception. So we're very focused. We're very like front and back beings, right? Move forward, go back in the past. But what about left and right, right? What about these rotations that we can do? What about things that we're not focusing on? What about all this stuff outside of my circle of focus? That's what this is helping us access. And specifically too, this is where the vagus nerve runs. I have peripheral perspective. Yep, that's exactly it. And if you can't swallow, again, it's because you don't practice. It's like swallowing is not just to get food in the body or drink in the body. It's also to get information in the body. And information goes from, these are called the trigeminal nerve, from what you see, what you smell, and what you taste. And it comes down the vagus nerve, and then it gets processed in the body. Right? This is why human design is so lit, because your way of processing things with your body, again, if you're not paying attention to your solar plexus, if you're not paying attention to your sacral. Yes, I've done Kundalini yoga. The guy that I had on here, actually, he's a Kundalini yoga instructor, right? And I think he still does Kundalini stuff, but um, you know, there's a lot of processing power that can be cultivated through things like Kundalini yoga. However, for me, I tend to go straight to the what are the actual activities. And one of the things with Kundalini, right, is you're doing a lot of things in a static position, like breath of fire, good and dandy and all. But for me, I'm like, I want to be sprinting. I want my body to associate certain breathing techniques and patterns with the actual physiological expression of them. And unfortunately, a lot of the things in Kundalini yoga, moving sets, great. Yep, there's moving sets. Um, for me, I'm like, that's great. I don't want to do that, but definitely makes sense. I mean, you're doing moving sets, and again, it's great medicine for people. In my pursuit, again, I'm always looking for what works best for me, and that's typically I experiment with a lot of things. So, where can I learn more of this professionally? It's interesting. So, my dear brother Pasha, and one of my partners, he teaches this. He does this, and I actually yeah, I gotta put a link for him on in my website. I haven't done that yet. He just recently started doing this. But basically, if you wanna do this, like have someone coach you in this style, there's two options. You can either DM me and I'll connect you to the guy. He's very private, but he takes referrals from me. It's called Sensory Mechanics. Or the second thing you could do is join the archive, which is like a video library. It's $11 a month. It's a community and plus all of the courses that are in the community, but there's a bunch of videos on exercises like this that are going to help you open up your senses so that you can get a clearer picture of the world and so that you can actually process things better in your body. And it's also in addition to being a sensory mechanics library, it's also a biomechanics. So it teaches walking, running, throwing, which is great for anyone that either has an open spleen or has splenic authority. Walking, running, and throwing is so important. Um, so humans basically, and it also is a soft tissue. So the thing I was talking about earlier with like relieving trauma from the body, um, or like being able to remove adhesions in the physical body and then feel benefits in the emotional and mental realms, that is also in there too. So it's basically like my catch-all for being a full embodied human. Learn how to walk, run, and throw. Learn how to use your senses peripherally and focused, and then also learn how you say, stir up trauma in the body and release it. I did a lot of Kundalini at home with no coach and get vertigo for months because I wasn't taught to ground. Yep. 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 Do you think it's important to know where the trauma comes from or just focus on the body? My sense is this is like, if you can touch the trauma without being like, I need to get this out or like, I need to hide this, eventually the trauma will tell you exactly where it came from. And this is my experience of working with my own trauma is, instead of having this obsessive like I need to figure out where it came from so that I can stop it from entering into my life, it's more like, who's in the house, let me just watch what they're doing in the house. And then through that, the awareness of like, oh, okay, so this trauma is causing me to, like, for instance, um you know not lean on my own thing, because when I did my own thing, I got taken out at the knees and I felt really bad about myself. So I'll just build other people's things as a way. Like, where did that initialize from? For me, I still don't know, but I have a handle on it in the sense that, like, when I feel that, I'm in contact with it. And so it's not necessary to say it's not important to know where it came from. It's just more important to like see how it shows up in your life, to keep repeating, sitting and allowing it to flow, but pinpointing it and releasing it. I see surrender, observation, then intellectual force. Yeah, and so, for instance, again with the soft tissue, that is where you can pinpoint it in the body. It's more important in my perspective. It's more important to know what part of the body it lives in than what interaction it came from. Like, for instance, if you feel powerless, it's probably because people in your life told you to sit down before laying bad news on you or laying something traumatizing on you, right? And so, in that sense, your trauma would be in your glutes, in your butt cheeks. Use the soft tissue in the archive sequences to relieve the butt cheeks from those adhesions and those tonic muscles and and traumas and freaking adhesions. There's your power back, right? And that is again how we come into contact with trauma, right? I had to put my phone away for a minute. I'm at work, was really interested in why a couple of us had a problem swallowing with that exercise a few minutes ago. Super cool question. Thank you. I love that. Oh, Tiana, what's up? Sorry, I didn't see you over there in YouTube land. Learned about HD a few years ago. Have some books, but your content came in my feed earlier and I'm loving it. Tiana, thank you so much for enjoying the content. I have a lot of fun making it. So, with the swallowing, Why are some of us not good at swallowing? In this position, how often do you swallow in this position? Not a lot, right? How about this position? Not a lot. So putting your throat in positions where you are swallowing like this, we can look at it like this, right? How good are you at catching a football if you can catch a football, right? Or if you're looking at the football. A lot easier than if you're looking away from the football, right? But it doesn't mean that you still can't use your peripheral vision and catch it. So here's the thing. When it comes to swallowing, and Leah, you have trouble swallowing on your left side more. Very interesting, right? What happens with your peripheral vision, right? And your tongue position and the architecture of your body is that in certain how you say configurations, it's just not as good. And unfortunately, those are like your blind spots. Well, fortunately, they're your blind spots because now that you know, oh, I don't not so good at swallowing on the left, this is an exercise that you ought to be doing. Maggie, we all have dirty minds. I mean, let's be honest. Um, when you put yourself in that position where it's hard to do something, and then you do something that you ought to be able to do. By ought to able to do, I mean like if you're a functioning, healthy human being, you ought to be able to swallow in this position. And if you're not good at it, okay, practice it. Same thing as singing. Human beings, all human beings ought to be able to sing. Unless you don't have vocal cords or, something like that. If you have vocal cords, you have the mechanisms to sing, you ought to be able to sing. Doesn't mean you're going to sing, but if you actually practice the thing, that's what allows people to become elevated to the point where like their job is singing and they make millions of dollars just by singing. So it's really about practice. It's a muscle that needs to be exercised. Yes. Thank you for summing that up, guys. Having a hard time allowing the unknown into your life, unable to swallow. Exactly. Or, swallowing something that you feel like you feel like you're being force-fed reality and you don't want to swallow, you're resisting it. Yeah. We're at 40,000 likes, by the way, guys, which is insane because we're literally in the top 10%. Um, the number one, yeah, we're like at we're ranked at like 13. I don't know why they don't put us in this ranking, but the top guy, so this is the goal. We have to run up the leagues. So the goal is, and not today, because I'm realistic, and I don't have a whole lot of time left, but um the goal for Friday and subsequent lives will be 107,000. So 108,000 likes will put us at the number one in this league. And that's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. Lena, thank you. I feel in terms as far as education goes, I am really, really good at bringing the best out in people because I'm really, really good at seeing when you've got more in the tank, right? And that's part of I think it's like Fashion Slayer. I definitely think we could do that because the team, I mean, just this past 2 weeks alone, like now we're hitting 40K pretty consistently. Like that wasn't happening last month. Jenny, you remember we were topping out at like 20K. Emily says a lot of times my vocal cords constrict when I'm trying to talk. Right. So okay, these are how you say um compulsive, right? They're behavioral things. And so the idea is to not like, oh, how do I get my throat to not constrict? It's how often am I going to touch that, right? Because you might do all these things to like get to the point where you open up your throat, but if you don't just, hey, I'm just going to put my throat in that position and attempt to open it more often, not as a way of like, oh, I need to open up my throat, but just as a way of like, hey, this is a part of me that deserves attention because it's something that is a natural function that doesn't function. Again, people associate things like they have unique problems. You don't. You don't have unique problems. Like, yeah, I feel sometimes like I'm not good enough. I sometimes feel like I'm not making enough money. I sometimes feel like nobody loves me. We all have like the same, no one is unique in the problems that they have. What's unique is why. What is going on in our physical body that we have that problem? And again, if you don't feel free, it's because your lats are underactivated or they're frozen. If you don't feel powerful, it's because your glutes are frozen. if you don't feel like, you can say what you need to say, it's because your throat is constricted or your throat is too loose, right? And so all of this has to do with just coming into contact with who we are and where we're at now. That is the medicine, and that is the way forward. Do I have a podcast? I do not have a podcast, but I am a servant of my environment, and so um, shit, entire body frozen. Well, your thumbs are not frozen apparently. Um, Relax your anus. Yep, now you know why. That's right, because it's all connected, and they're like diaphragms. Diaphragms that we're gonna working with. And so anyway, um, I'm lit. I need to go move my body and run around. Is what I'm feeling now. Podcast. Okay, I hear you guys. This is helping a lot because definitely going live has been something that I've strayed away from. And I had this idea that, oh, it would just be too much energy for me. But with um, your guys's help and love, and thank you for the little heart. I saw you just shared this. Have Truth Empire. You just shared this with 10 friends. Legendary. Because of Jenny, because of all of you guys that are supporting me right now, this is giving me a lot of energy to do those types of things. Um, And so thank you for that. I really appreciate you guys. We're going to end this live pretty soon. So I'm just going to say the things that I always say at the end of the lives. Thank you guys so much. Please remember to follow. Next time we're going to be going live is going to be Friday at 9 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time. And so thank you guys so much again. If you need reports or one-on-one sessions, everything, or the app, everything is available via the link in my bio. If you like these sensory mechanic things that we were doing, I have an $11 membership that you can join that has videos on not only that, but also walking, running, and throwing, biomechanics, and also soft tissue. So um, removing trauma from the body on the physical sense with soft tissue, reprogramming our walking, running, and throwing patterns so we actually walk, run, and throw and stand and sit like human beings, and then making the senses more refined and making the body the proper temperature and pressure so that we can cook information, all while using human design as like the overview lens. Like, you guys are set. Okay, you guys are set. Give yourself time. This is not like a silver bullet, quick fix, red pill thing. This takes like a year and a half to really like get it. You know what I mean? Mentally. So if you're still unclear about things, don't worry about it. It takes a year and a half for you to like mentally really wrap your mind around this. This is a huge body of work and ultimately is your life. And so, with that being said, come join the archive. It's a cool little community space as well. Um, and yeah, again, everything is via the link in the bio. Jenny, love you so much. Leah, so awesome having you here. Maggie May, nice. Conscious Cat, much love. Verify me here at the end. TikTok, nice. All right. Am I a human? Damn right I am. I asked about procrastination. I did your report. I'm a generator. Legend. Conscious Cat, let's talk Friday. Or if you can't wait, feel free to book a session. I don't have any availability this week, but next week. Um, yeah, but maybe I'll make a video on that procrastination and the types and how to handle it. That's a good one. Anyway, love you guys. See you next Friday, or see you Friday. This has been an epic live. We're at 50, we're at 49K. Can we get to 50? Let's go. Man, it's so funny. Like, I'm literally competing with NPCs and heretical battle brothers. And just like that, we're halfway there. 49.8 and 50. You guys are legends. I'll be making a video on this procrastination thing probably tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you guys so much. Love y'all. We will see you. We hit 50K, no problem. Hour and a half live. Epic. By the end of this month, we'll be hitting 100K. I already can feel it. Thank you guys so much. You guys are the best. I love you and wishing you all the best. Sending you some Reiki blasts from Maui, Hawaii. Sending some of that island vibe, that island medicine. Remember, all you have to do is see yourself to love yourself. Aloha, my friends. See you Friday. Bye, YouTube.